August 6, 1915, dawned with an eerie tension that blanketed the battlefield. As the sun struggled to break through a sinister green cloud, it became clear that something horrifying was about to unfold, a scene reminiscent of a Gothic horror film, rather than the bravery of men in war. This green haze was chlorine gas, a symbol of the new horrors of modern warfare, creeping across the old Russian fortress of Ovik in northeastern Poland. Here, the Germans and Russians were locked in a deadly struggle, battling fiercely for control over a critical transit point. The fortress had already endured a series of brutal assaults. In September 1914, against overwhelming odds, the Russians heroically repelled a fierce German attack. Again, in February 1915, with heavy artillery and an unwavering resolve, the Germans bombarded Ovik in an attempt to seize it, raining down over 1 million shells in relentless pursuit. By July 1915, Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg, the hero of Tannenberg, took command. His goal was clear: to crush the Russian defenders at this strongly fortified stronghold. With 14 battalions, specialized troops, and a toxic arsenal of gas artillery at his disposal, Hindenburg was determined to break through. But what transpired on that fateful day in August would be etched in the annals of history not just as a military tactic, but as a chilling example of warfare's darker innovations. Join us as we unravel the dramatic events that led to the infamous attack of the Dead Men, a harrowing encounter in the First World War that sent ripples through both sides, highlighting not only the horrors of chemical warfare, but also the remarkable resilience of the human spirit. Picture this, it's 1915, the heart of World War I. Deep in what is now Poland stands the Osawik Fortress, a critical Russian stronghold on the Eastern Front. The Germans have tried to take it again and again, but the fortress holds. Frustrated, the German High Command, led by the legendary Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg, decides to unleash a new, terrifying weapon. On the morning of August 6th, the wind shifts. A dark, greenish-yellow cloud of chlorine and bromine gas, 16 feet high, rolls across the battlefield towards the Russian trenches. The men inside have no gas masks, no real protection. They resort to desperate measures, wrapping their faces in wet rags, but it's no use. The gas seeps into their lungs, dissolving the tissue, causing them to cough up blood and pieces of their own organs. It was a chemical apocalypse. The Germans waited, certain that no one could have survived. They expected to walk in and claim an empty fortress. As thousands of German soldiers advanced in neat lines, confident in their victory, something unbelievable happened. From the toxic fog, figures emerged, staggering, stumbling, but moving forward. These were the last defenders of the 13th Company of the 226th Zemlyansky Regiment. Their skin was burned, their uniforms were stained with blood and chemical residue, and they were literally coughing up their own lungs. Wrapped in bloody rags, they looked like corpses reanimated. Led by 2nd Lieutenant Vladimir Kotlinski, these dying men, numbering less than 100, fixed their bayonets and charged. Imagine the sheer terror for the Germans. They had expected silence and death. Instead, they were met by what looked like a zombie army, an attack of the dead men, screaming with what little voice they had left. The sight was so horrifying, so unnatural, that the German soldiers, who outnumbered them massively, broke rank and fled in absolute panic. They ran, trampling their own comrades, getting caught in their own barbed wire. The Russian artillery, still manned by a few survivors, opened fire on the retreating masses, turning their flight into a bloody rout. Against all odds, the fortress held. Lieutenant Kotlinski, the hero who led the charge, would succumb to his wounds later that day. But his name and the bravery of his men became legend. Though the Russians would eventually be ordered to abandon Osawik a few weeks later as part of a strategic withdrawal, they left a legacy of defiance that echoes through history. The attack of the Dead Men wasn't just a battle. It was a testament to the absolute limits of human endurance and the unbreakable spirit of soldiers defending their land. But the horror of the Great War didn't just create legends of bravery. It also birthed strange, unsettling stories that blur the line between reality and the supernatural. The constant stress, the trauma of trench warfare, and the sheer scale of death seemed to tear a hole in the fabric of the world, letting something else seep through. Soldiers from all sides began reporting bizarre sightings. They spoke of the wild men of no man's land, gaunt, spectral figures seen darting between craters and through tangled barbed wire at night. Were these just deserters driven mad by shell shock, living like animals in the blasted landscape? Or were they something else entirely? Men who saw them swore they weren't fully human, moving with an unnatural speed and silence that chilled them to the bone. These accounts are incredibly widespread. A British officer wrote in his diary about finding a German soldier's body, not killed by a bullet or a shell, but seemingly torn apart. The locals had stories too, whispers of ancient spirits of the battlefield, disturbed by the endless slaughter. It's easy to dismiss these as battlefield fatigue or hallucinations, products of minds pushed to the breaking point. But when thousands of men report similar experiences, you have to wonder. Psychologists today might call it collective trauma manifesting as shared visions. The human mind, unable to process the industrial-scale carnage, creates figures and stories to personify the horror. The wild men become a symbol of the war's dehumanizing effect, the ultimate consequence of living and dying in a muddy, blood-soaked hell. And the strange sightings weren't just on the ground. They were in the air too. The most famous pilot of the war, Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron himself, is at the center of one of the most enduring WWI mysteries. According to a later account, in 1917, while on patrol with his squadron, the Red Baron encountered something that defied all explanation. It wasn't a British or French plane. It was described as a craft that looked like an upturned silver saucer, moving with incredible speed and agility far beyond the capabilities of any aircraft of the time. The story goes that the object hovered, seemingly observing the German pilots, before darting away at a speed that left the seasoned aces in stunned disbelief. Now, could this have been an experimental aircraft? Highly unlikely given the technology of the era. Could it have been a weather balloon or an atmospheric phenomenon misinterpreted by men under immense stress? Perhaps. But this account, whether true, embellished, or a complete fabrication, has become a cornerstone of early UFO lore. It connects the birth of modern warfare with the birth of modern paranormal mystery. It suggests that even the war's greatest hero, a man known for his cold, calculating precision in the sky, witnessed something he couldn't explain, something from another world. Think about the psychological state of these soldiers. They lived in a world of constant noise, fear, and death. Sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, and the ever-present threat of a violent end were their daily reality. It's no wonder their minds might have played tricks on them. Visions of angels, like the famous Angel of Monks, were reported, offering comfort and a sense of divine intervention. On the flip side, visions of demons and ghouls, like the Wild Men, reflected the hellish nature of their existence. These stories, from the heroic charge of the Walking Dead to the spectral figures in No Man's Land and the silver saucer in the sky, are more than just footnotes in history. They are a vital part of the human story of the Great War. They show us how people cope with the unimaginable. When reality becomes a nightmare, the mind populates it with monsters. And angels, with heroes who defy death and mysteries that defy explanation. The Attack of the Dead Men is a true story of incredible valor, while the paranormal tales might be the folklore of trauma. Together, they paint a powerful, haunting picture of a world turned upside down by war. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the strange side of history as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unexplained. Let me know in the comments which of these stories you find the most compelling. See you next time.